Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Bobbi Pominville, and I'm your reporter on the arts, all type of arts. And as you know, sometimes they go a little bit off of the arts, but because of things that I really enjoy, I guess. So anyway, today we are welcoming Angie Pilgrim from the St. Croix Valley Foundation. Welcome, Angie.
Thank you.
And I must say that I have enjoyed working with her too, but we'll get to that later. She joined the St. Croix Valley Foundation in 2014, and she serves as the Director of Community Impact. Angie graduated from the University of Iowa with a double major in marketing and international business and a German minor. After several years consulting with PricewaterhouseCoopers in Chicago, Illinois, Angie followed her heart to the nonprofit sector. She served as a program officer for World Chicago and executive director of the Chicago Foundation for Education. And she is a native of Worthington, Minnesota, and she now lives in Holton, one of my favorite areas, I must say, with her husband and their 3 children. And of course, they have 2 dogs, and she loves to travel, ski, cook, and bike with her dogs. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a wonderful life, Angie.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, we're going to start with the question that I really do need you to answer. I don't know all the answers here. Can you please start with an overview of the St. Croix Valley Foundation?
Of course. And first of all, thank you so much, Bobbi, for having me here today. It's always good to see you, and I appreciate you taking the time to learn more. Yes. Sure. First, I'm going to take a quick step back and give an overview of community foundations in general. So community foundations are really defined by a geographic area, and it's all about how do we improve the lives of the people that live within that geographic area. The other thing that makes community foundations very unique is they're focused on endowed assets. So those are those permanent, forever assets that will support a community forever. So that makes a community foundation very unique as well. In fact, some people say it's like a community's savings account. So the St. Croix Valley Foundation is a regional community foundation. We were founded in 1995 to enhance the quality of life right here in the St. Croix Valley. So we currently serve 6 counties in the St. Croix Valley, 4 in Wisconsin and 2 in Minnesota. So we cross the river. So Burnett, Polk, St. Croix, and Pierce counties here in Wisconsin, and then Chisago and Washington counties over in Minnesota. And we do that by partnering with 10 completely volunteer-run affiliate foundations is what we call them. So there's 7 of those affiliates here in Wisconsin, 1 right here in Hudson, the Hudson Community Foundation, and then 3 affiliates over in Minnesota. So we work really closely with those 10 volunteer boards. Since our founding, we've grown to close to $90 million in assets, and we've granted close to $50 million, mostly right here in the St. Croix Valley. So that's really exciting. We have approximately 500 funds that do grant making, and those type of funds that we offer are donor advised and donor designated funds. We offer agency funds to our nonprofit partners that don't want to handle the investment and administration of those funds, so they turn those endowed assets over to us. We have field of interest funds, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. And then also we have about 80 scholarship funds. So that's a little bit about the St. Croix Valley Foundation.
Oh, that is so interesting because I had no idea about some of those things you were talking about. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when I'm focused on the music, I don't always think about all of that. But what a wonderful organization. I think it's absolutely great to have it in Hudson. And so many needy things going on these days. So I really admire you for doing this.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going on. Please tell the audience what different grant programs are available through the foundation.
Absolutely. So I mentioned a few of our funds that we have or an offer at the St. Croix Valley Foundation, and one of the types of funds we offer is a field of interest fund. And let me tell you a little bit more about those. So we have several field of interest funds that have been established by really passionate donors that have causes that are very close to their heart, but they don't necessarily want to handle the grant making, especially when they know that it's going to go on forever, because they're not going to be here forever. So they then establish a fund with the St. Croix Valley Foundation around that specific passion that they know then that will match that passion with the organization that's doing it best forever. So for those field of interest funds, we establish competitive grant programs. We get community involved in those grant programs by reviewing grants. And we then award grants to the most qualified organizations at that time. So that's the field of interest funds. We have several right now. The Music Education Fund, which we're going to talk a little bit more about later, and that you've been very involved in, so thank you. A Health and Wellness Fund, Valley Arts Fund that supports arts organizations.
Right.
We just established a new fund called the First 1,000 Days Fund, and that's about supporting the physical, the mental, the emotional development of a child in their first 1,000 days. So we're excited to launch that fund and that grant program. And then we also have a new environmental fund. So those are our current field of interest funds that we have competitive grant making that we do.
And every one of those is kind of close to my heart. They are things that I really care about. I mean, yes, of course, music, but the other things too are really important to me. So anyway, one of them, as you know, is the mental health grant program. And I imagine that comes under the health aspect.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this summer, you awarded $156,000 to 26 nonprofit organizations, of which I do know of some of them. Can you please tell us more about that specific initiative?
Absolutely. So I listed several field of interest funds, and obviously we're making really impactful grants to nonprofit organizations through those field of interest funds. However, there's also gaps and challenges that aren't covered by those funds, right? And so about 5 years ago, we launched, in collaboration with all 10 of our affiliates, an endowment campaign to raise unrestricted funding. So this was about recognizing we don't know what the needs of tomorrow are going to be. This was pre-COVID, by the way. We don't know what our communities are going to need 10, 15, 50 years from now. So we need funds available so that we can pivot and respond to our community's needs when they present themselves. So we launched this endowment campaign with our 10 affiliates, and we were successful. We raised over $3 million of unrestricted endowment. And again, the idea of the campaign was we don't know tomorrow's challenges, but we need to be positioned in a way that we can best respond to what's going on and improve the lives and meet our mission, improve the lives of the residents in our communities. So for the past 3 years, those unrestricted dollars, based on qualitative and quantitative data we're getting from our communities, have been focused on responding to the mental health needs of our communities. And we all know that COVID took a toll, and we've heard that mental health needs are just skyrocketing. So with our affiliates, we said, let's mount a competitive grant program to respond to the needs of our communities. So since that time, over the course of the last 3 years, and again, in collaboration with all 10 affiliates, we've granted close to $450,000 to those 6 counties that I mentioned earlier, to organizations that are really responding, that are providing those mental health services and programs that our communities need. So each year we take a step back and say, okay, what are we hearing from our communities? What is the data saying? But so far we think we're on track with that mental health grant program.
That is so good to hear,
because
I know the needs are great. And I have worked with a couple of those areas through the Women's Club donations. So
good for you.
Did you say it's only been going so many years?
3 years we've been doing that grant
Only
making
3
for
years.
mental health. Prior to that, our health and wellness funds were focused on childhood obesity. which obviously is still an issue.
Yes,
but
that is.
for the past 3 years, we pivoted and have been addressing mental health needs.
Well, thank you. That is wonderful. I'm so glad to
Absolutely.
hear that. Well, now we get to talk about my favorite, of course, music education grants. And you might wonder, well, what on earth do I do with that? Well, in the fall, we ask the schools to sign up and describe grants and things they need in the classroom or whatever. And then all of those come into your office, and it could be like anywhere in those 6 counties. And then I'm one of the people that gets to read them all.
Yes, thank you for
And
that.
we kind of rate them, grade them, and we're very serious about that too. We have a lot of criteria. I know I do in my mind. But oh my goodness, there's so many that are worthy.
Oh, I
And
know.
then you have to look at the amount of money that's available. And I don't know if you even know that yet this year, do you?
It's going to be close to 35,000, I think, this
I
year.
think that's kind of
Yeah,
in the
that's what it's been.
ballpark from before.
Yep.
So anyway, what happens is I come with another group of people with you, and we kind of give our ratings, you might say. And usually it's pretty easy, but sometimes they're so close that it's hard to decide. And occasionally we split some of them
Yep.
so we can serve more schools.
Yeah.
And I've actually applied for that particular thing when I was teaching. So I've been very, very lucky because even through the Hudson Community Ed, I have received some grants there too. And it really picks up your programming and so on when you have something like that coming in, and you can improve your program at school. So anyway, okay, we're in the music thing now.
Yep.
And you sent out notices to the music staff and the principals and anybody involved with the schools that could actually describe what they need or want. And if anybody's watching this show, oh, we would really like to interest you in applying this year. So, will you please tell our audience about that program?
Absolutely. So the Music Education Field of Interest Fund really tells that story of the power of endowment very, very well. So the fund was established by an anonymous donor back in 2003. So we're celebrating the 20th anniversary this year. And that donor, that anonymous donor, was very passionate about music education and programming and wanted to enhance those programs throughout the valley forever. So that donor started the fund with a donation while she was still living, which is brilliant, so she could really hear about and see the impact of her gift. The original gift was approximately $610,000, so it was a very, very generous gift. And again, that was made in 2003. Since that time, Bobbi, the fund has awarded grants totaling nearly $614,000. So we've already granted more than the original gift, and the current fund balance is approaching $678,000. So that's the power of endowment. Gift established 20 years ago, the balance has increased, and we've granted more than the original fund balance. So it really tells that story of endowment so very well. And again, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of that gift and the donor, Nida Swanson's wonderful legacy. So since she passed, she said it doesn't have to be anonymous anymore. So we're so grateful
good.
to Nida Swanson for that original gift. So specifics on the grant program, this we usually launch in the fall, so the application goes live in August as teachers are just starting to think about what they want to do in their classrooms for the year. And then it's due usually in mid to late October, and then it's reviewed by our very knowledgeable panel, and thank you again, Bobbi, for being involved on that panel.
Oh, I enjoy it so much.
Yes, usually we meet the week of Thanksgiving when teachers have an extra day available to give to us for that review. And then grants are generally awarded in December. So then they have the whole next 6 months, or January to May, to really implement the grant that they've received. This grant program, we talked about it a little bit earlier, awards about $30,000 to $35,000 annually, just a portion of what's available based on that endowed fund balance. And the grants really cover everything. We've seen it all, from, gosh, I need a new trombone, or I need a new instrument of some kind, to really creative, we're going to partner with the composer, and the kids are going to work with the composer to commission a piece and write their own music. So the panel, it's a challenging process because when there's such need in communities, you want to honor that need and get these schools what they need, and you also want to honor the creativity of those teachers that are thinking outside of the box and doing really creative things with their students. So it's a joy. It's a joy to work with that panel to give those awards each year.
Yeah, and it's such a diverse group. I mean, you probably think it would all be educators, but it's people that do think out of the box, that are, like a former opera singer, you might say.
Yes. Some professors from River Falls
Professors, oh my goodness,
Our
yes, and they're
panelist
so
is
good.
The music director at a local church. So
Yes.
And then we do have a couple retired, similar to you.
Yeah.
Music teachers.
That's
so
right.
It's a very knowledgeable panel, and they're a delight to work with.
Oh, we have such a good time, and I do kind of consider myself the elementary music expert.
Absolutely.
But
you know the most about
I look outside of that too.
Yes.
Because, I know I've been involved in so many different grade levels through the years.
Yeah.
So I really taught K through 12. Not every year.
Yep.
But anyway, it's really interesting to me, the things that come in. And I know for a while, it seemed like every school was wanting to do similar. Like opera for the young was really big. Remember that?
I do remember that.
And it's true, because most people have a what am I trying to say? Most of the kids think opera isn't cool. And then you really have to, kind of show them it is cool.
Yeah. What I've appreciated about this panel especially is how they've been very responsive to what teachers need. So during the COVID year, for example, we had never funded technology because we didn't see a place for it in a music education classroom. But when we were hearing the stories of what teachers needed to teach music when they're teaching it remotely over the screen, that panel recognized, hey, it may be time to consider some of these requests that are focused on building the technological needs of the music program. So they're very responsive.
A lot of classes at the university were going online. And, because of the advance in technology with children, oh my, most of them are way ahead of me, I know that. But anyway, such interesting things, and such a good group of people, and really all of us caring so much about education and music.
Yeah, and that again is another, I guess, positive of those field of interest funds, is they say what the interest is and what the area is, but then they let the St. Croix Valley Foundation and the knowledgeable panel determine, what makes sense this year, right now, and who's doing it best.
Yeah.
So some flexibility.
Anyway, I just, I hated to miss when I had to miss 1 year because of my surgery, but I'm ready to go back.
Good.
It's going to be fun.
Yes.
All right. So I know I could go on and on about music, but I'm trying to curb myself now. So here's another thing I was thinking about when we were going to have questions today: the donors.
Yeah.
And we encourage donors to support a particular passion, or they can make an unrestricted gift. So how does that work, and how can people donate? I imagine some people haven't heard of it.
Yes. Well, of course, if they're compelled to donate right now, they can march over to their computer and go to our website, which is scvfoundation.org, and click on the little donate button. So that makes it very easy to do. Yes. But I really encourage anyone that's listening and and this is really resonating with them and they want to learn more, to reach out to the St. Croix Valley Foundation. Give us a call. We have a really knowledgeable staff about not only what the needs are in the community, and they want to hear from donors, and they want to hear what their philanthropic interests are, and they want to help match what those interests are to what the opportunities and issues are in our communities. And not only do they know the issues and opportunities, but they also know some really creative ways to give. So they can think about the tax implications. They can work with financial advisors to really make it work for that donor to have the biggest impact and also meet their philanthropic goals. So give us a call is what I would say.
Yeah, and please don't feel restricted by the numbers we've been talking about today.
Absolutely.
Because it's kind of off the charts when you hear about those thousands and millions.
Yep.
But it is a definite need. And of course, education and children are my top priorities.
Well, that's a really good point, Bobbi. Every gift matters, and every gift makes a difference. Yep.
I agree.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I knew nothing about the St. Croix Valley Foundation until you joined with the Hudson Ed Foundation. Mm-hmm. And then I was kind of like, oh, there's another one, and it's a bigger picture.
Yeah, so when we joined, when the Hudson Community Foundation came under our umbrella, or I should say it could go the opposite way too, we came under the Hudson Community Foundation because our goal with our affiliates is really to lift up their work and support them. So yes.
Well, this has really been fun. And you know what? You do such a marvelous job there.
Oh, thanks, Bobbi.
I've enjoyed working with you so very much. And I do see the benefits. I think it's a wonderful thing that we can do this.
Yeah.
And we can give back, and we can make wonderful programming for people and many, many things you wouldn't think of that now they can afford to do.
Absolutely. Well, likewise, I enjoy working with you too.
Oh, thank you. Well, okay, that's our show for the day. And I hope you have learned a lot about the foundation, the many different aspects of it. And I hope you can feel that Angie and I are very dedicated to this type of a program. And I hope if you have questions, you certainly can email me or Angie, and we'll put some information on the screen for you. So again, I thank you for watching the show today.